Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to the Altrient Instagram site. I'm hoping to be joined shortly by Dr. Pauline Hili. So I was just looking at the notes coming up on the screen. So today, who's from Nourish London, and we're going to be talking all about skin hydration and the Quench skin personality group. So if you're not familiar with the skin personality system, there's 5 different skin personalities, and today we're talking about Quench, and we're just going to invite in, here she is. Here she is, hopefully that worked. If not, we'll do another invite. Let me see what this one is here. Here she is.
Hi.
Hooray!
Hey, hello.
Hi. I always get really nervous just before inviting someone in, just in case the tech doesn't work. I know we had a few problems last time, but thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm just back from Australia, so it's great that and I've definitely got the Quench personality today.
Oh, have you? Yes. Have you got a bit of jet lag as well?
A little bit. It sort of lasts a few days, actually. Yeah. It's always coming back. It's much more difficult to manage, and I sort of at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm bright as a button. But yeah. So.
Well, I hope we get your energy up during this as well. So I just wanted to say thank you to start with, because you've sent me beforehand these amazing products from Nourish Skincare. We've got the mineral mask, the ceramide boost, and what was the other one? The other one is the argan skin rescue. So do you want to do a little bit of an explanation about the philosophy behind Nourish?
Yes. With Nourish, Susie, we really wanted to create skincare that would be really, really effective at making the skin healthier. Yeah. So understanding how the skin's metabolism works and providing it with the right ingredients to accelerate the health of the skin, to plump the skin. We look at the key systems in the skin, so the lipid layer, the natural moisturizing factor, we look at the structural proteins, and we develop products that really work with your natural systems to accelerate that healthy fitness of the skin.
Yeah, brilliant. And so when it comes to skin hydration, so for those of the viewers that are watching who have dry skin or flaky skin, or issues even with eczema and dermatitis, how much of a emphasis is placed on skin barrier function, do you think, for skin hydration?
I think the skin barrier function is absolutely vital. First of all, in our experience, we find that the barrier function is a function that is often been damaged, either through harsh cleansers, the use of harsh cleansers, right, through overstripping of the skin, or through environmental factors. And when the barrier function is damaged, the skin becomes like a leaky bucket. So no matter how much hydration you put in, it really struggles to reach optimum moisturization. And really, with the outer stratum corneum, you need that between 10 and 15%, so that you have that plumpness and non-dryness on the skin. So barrier function for me is the first point of call. When we created our very first product, our Argan Skin Rescue, it was created with the barrier function in mind. And that's correct. It's it's a product that you only use one drop at a time, one drop late at night. And basically what it does is it aims to repair the barrier function. And we do that by combining oil-soluble vitamin C with an anti-inflammatory, which is based on ginger and bisabolol, and particular ceramide-rich argan and Abyssinian oil, because what that does is that it immediately stops the water hydration loss from the skin and helps those ceramides to repair appropriately. Of course, the oil-soluble vitamin C, as you know, which is the topic of today, is so very, very vital for healthy skin.
Yeah.
You cannot produce healthy collagen, therefore you cannot produce a healthy barrier unless you've got adequate vitamin C, both internally and externally applied to the skin.
Yes. So I found the argan. Do you say argan or argan? What do
I
you say?
say argan.
Argan. Okay.
Yes.
So I found this like to be really a rich product. It's like I worked out very quickly that the best time for me to put that on was in the evening when I was watching TV and sort of not doing anything but just sitting there and letting it soak in. So so what exactly are ceramides? Are they like,
Ceramides, they're an important group of compounds within the skin that help to protect it. And really, when we deal with they are an important part of the barrier function, creating that barrier on the skin. So that's why you can't create an adequate barrier unless all those ceramides and also the fatty acid systems in the skin are in an appropriate state. And adding that oil-soluble vitamin C or vitamin C into the skin, making sure that you've got an appropriate amount is so critical to doing that.
Yeah, well, at Altrient, obviously, we're big fans of vitamin C, and we're always talking about how good it is for skin health. And this particular product, which is the liposomal C, so one sachet contains 1,000 milligrams, and we've had some clinical studies done with this particular product to show that if you were to take one sachet a day for 3 months, you'd get an increase in your skin firmness and skin elasticity by 35%, which is a really excellent statistic. So that's the supplement for us that underpins all of the skin personalities. So there's 5 different skin personalities, and if people don't know their skin personality, they can head over to the Altrient website and take that online test, which takes just a couple of minutes to do, and you'll find out whether you're a quench or a flawless or a fierce or whichever one. And so today, really, with quench, and we're talking about hydration, vitamin C from the inside, as you say, is really important for the skin function. And the you know, as we get older, looking after our skin and looking after our collagen is really important. And from a nutrition perspective, there are some enzymes that help your body make new collagen and repair collagen, and those enzymes are activated by vitamin C and by estrogen. So for us, getting vitamin C on the inside is really important for giving you that glow and that hydration on the outside. So
yes, I mean, we start to lose collagen at a very young age. That making and the loss of collagen, particularly once you reach menopause, you're losing quite a significant amount of your collagen over a period. So I think it's great that, you know, we're raising that awareness about the importance of this vitamin, both internally and externally.
yeah. The other thing that I find really interesting, so we also pair the vitamin C with quench with magnesium as being really important for skin hydration, and that comes in these little grey sachets here. And really, one of the interesting factors is that from a nutrition perspective, there are these proteins called integrins, and those integrins help to anchor different types of skin cells into the different areas and the different layers of the skin. So how they're working with barrier function is that they're making sure that the surface cells get put onto that barrier, they anchor them in. And certainly in the collagen matrix as well, those integrins are making sure that collagen and the matrix sits in the right place. And that allows for things like elastrin, fibrinogen, immune factors, and hyaluronic acid to kind of settle into that collagen matrix. And what research has shown is that magnesium is really important for the regulation of integrin receptors. So making sure that those receptors get into those different layers of the skin, so that then these different skin cells can be anchored in, and then the skin within each layer can have its correct function. So I know that from our perspective, magnesium is important to take on the inside. And I noticed that one of the products that you sent me for skin hydration was the mineral mask, which was my favourite one out of all three products. Absolutely loved it. So could you talk us through how magnesium and the minerals work on the outside?
Yes, so one of the things that I've noticed in the years that we've been doing our research on skincare is that quite often there's a lot of focus on collagen and elastin as the key proteins in the skin. But actually there is a lot of, when you look at the repair mechanisms of the skin, there's a lot of metabolic processes that require minor amounts of minerals, and that's magnesium is very, very vital for that. Magnesium is very, very important for calming the nervous system. It's got a very, very big role to play in softening the skin. And with the probiotic mask, what we wanted to do was, it's a mask that you use at night. It's a sleep mask. And what we wanted to do was, while the skin's repair function was operating, is to provide, if you like, a turbo boost by providing probiotic minerals to the skin while you sleep, so that all those additional metabolic reactions that go on at night time as part of the repair, so for example, the magnesium to help calm the skin, we've got copper to help with the redness, we've got zinc to help with the healing. All of those minerals are really there supplementing the skin's natural processes, so that you really get much more firmness and elasticity in that overnight process.
So it was definitely something that I noticed in the morning, that my skin was really soft and really smooth. And I know that with nutrition, we use probiotics to help balance the gut flora and to build that diverse microbiome. And we always sort of say, well, you know, often what you present on the outside is a reflection of what's going on in the inside. And often, you know, gut inflammation or dysbiosis, where there's an imbalance between good and bad bacteria, can often cause redness and, you know, issues with the skin. So I noticed that it also says probiotics on the outside, and I think this is sort of a relatively new area with skincare, isn't it, where we're seeing probiotics being put into skincare regimes on topically.
Yes, it is relatively new, and I think what's really what's interesting, I think that people, that connection between inside and outside of the skin is really, the awareness is really starting to be raised tremendously for that. And I'm elated about that, because that's the best way to give people really great health, both from the inside and from the outside. And from a skincare point of view, actually you can really, really accelerate the health of your skin by making sure that what you're intaking is also really healthy and providing you with the vitamins and the minerals that you need. Yeah. So I think the two go really, really hand in hand.
Fantastic. So I've also talking about sort of structural proteins and you know, how we lock in water into the skin. One of the other reasons why we put the Altrient liposomal magnesium into the quench pack was because there's this regulated sort of water transport system within the skin, and there's some special transport proteins called aquaporins which transport water from the different layers and between the different areas of the skin. And magnesium as an electrolyte helps to bring water to those aquaporins so that water can then be absorbed in. But it's how it gets to stay in the skin, isn't it? And I think that really that's the job of hyaluronic acid, if I understand that correctly.
Well, the natural moisturising factor has a big role to play in how the hydration of the skin works, and obviously hyaluronic acid is an important part of that also. So when you look at that system, I think the important thing is that the hydration, in the hydration mechanisms of the skin, we have what they call dynamic water and static water, and static water tends to be tied up within the cells. That dynamic water is much more moving, and that's where magnesium plays a really big role. Everything's quite finely balanced, and that's why I think it's very, very important to take quite a holistic view of how the skin operates, because it's I don't think, in my experience of sort of developing products and doing research over the last 35 years, there's not one single thing, but it's a series of positive steps that you can take to ensure that you've got the right balance of the right mineral the right level of hydration for the skin, so that you really get a result that's very important for you. And in some ways, you know, I always really encourage people to, you know, test the things that work for you. You know, even though I'm a quench type right at the moment, particularly with all that jet lag, dehydration, you know, I know that I could very easily quickly move to another type. So understanding your skin, reading the signs, understanding what works for you is very, very important. And I think it's great that people like Altrient really create these structures for us to have a starting point to understanding our own, the way our own metabolic systems are working.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting what you say about it is multifactorial, isn't it? There's lots of different layers to this, and what you've got 1 month or even 1 year might not be the skin personality that you've got the following year, and that you can dip in and out of different skin personalities. My personal skin personality is flawless because I've got a lot of sun damage. I was, you know, a sun worshipper in the 80s before we knew all of this had damaging UVA and UVB are to the skin. And, you know, if I knew what I knew now back in my 20s, and, you know, I would have worn some sunscreen.
You would have taken much more of the quench system, because obviously we talk about vitamin C and its relationship to collagen. And of course, however, one of its other primary functions within the skin is to act as an antioxidant, and to protect the skin from things like UVA and also environmental damage. So the UV damage on the skin, one of the reasons why, for example, in the argan rescue, we have that oil soluble vitamin C, is because what's really great is to create a reservoir of protection in the skin.
Yes.
And I also recommend, particularly during the summer season, that actually taking your vitamins the night before, making sure that you've got a reservoir of antioxidants in the skin, a really great approach to really protecting the skin, because there's a lot of evidence to demonstrate that some of the damage is actually when you come out of the sun, that more and more of the damage happens. And it's at that point really where things like the vitamin C level in the skin play a really, really important role. So if you want...
Yeah, it's probably worth mentioning then, because, you know, for people who are joining us, that there are different types of vitamin C, and what Altrient excels in is the liposomal form of vitamin C. So if you were to choose a sort of standard vitamin C that was an ascorbic acid, which is a water-soluble form, the absorption rates for that, whether it's a capsule or a powder or a liquid, are really low. You're looking at sort of 10 to 20%. You get an increase in absorption rates if you're choosing to take a mineral ascorbate, so you might get around 50s, 60s% absorption. But when you're taking a liposomal vitamin C, because they're wrapped in these phospholipid double membranes, they're like little bubbles, and the vitamin C is right in the middle, and it's that special phospholipid layer which is pretty much the same structure as every cell in the body, which allows the absorption factor to come up to sort of 90 plus, which is really close. It's the closest you can get to IV.
And that's a really, really good way to really up the antioxidant quotient within the body, really. Yes. So it's an excellent way of sort of rapidly increasing that, if you like, that overall protection from free radicals in the body.
Yeah, well, it's going to get it to where it needs to go. So some standard forms of vitamin C, they'll be absorbed into the body and they'll get into the bloodstream, but they can be very quickly used up in the bloodstream, or they can be cleared out of the bloodstream if you're taking high levels, because obviously the body likes to regulate what's happening in the blood quite strictly. Whereas when it's packaged up in a liposome, and if those liposomes are really good quality and really stable and the right size, and Altrient has got lots of independent testing to prove that, then those liposomes get carried through the bloodstream, because you want them to get through the bloodstream and get delivered to the cells. So when you're looking at how UV really starts to denature the collagen matrix, and as soon as the collagen matrix starts to kind of, you know, fall apart, that's when hyaluronic acid doesn't, you know, all of the things that sit in that matrix, like elastin, fibrin, hyaluronic acid, the immune factors, the antioxidant systems, they all start to sort of fall away, and that UV can create much more damage. And then that leads, you know, sets the scene, doesn't it, for sort of wrinkles, fine lines, pigmentation, dryness, and all the other sort of things that the skin's normally working really hard to combat.
Yes, I mean, so I mean, you describe it perfectly there, Susie. It's really about making sure that we really can maintain the right level to create the right protection mechanisms. I've seen a lot of work where there's a lot of recommendations of taking upping the soluble vitamins in the skin as a pre-protection mechanism, because it's very interesting. In our experience, a lot of people are very, very diligent about potentially putting on an SPF when they go out in the sun, but very few people really realise that there's quite a lot of damage that goes on when you've come out of the sun, if you've had that exposure, that long range. So that's why, for example, with our probiotic mask, we specifically designed that for being that post-sun treatment, so that you can really protect and up the antioxidants in the skin overnight.
Fantastic. I know that glutathione as well is another sort of master defense nutrient that works really well. So perhaps that is paired with vitamin C in our flawless skin personality, which is all about hyperpigmentation and sun damage. So perhaps even if you're quench and you're going out in the sun in the summer and you feel like you've exposed your skin for a little bit too long, then taking that vitamin C and using your lovely mineral mask to really help protect the skin. And again, you could add in a liposomal ultrasative Altrient glutathione just to really help mop up those free radicals, protect those cells from oxidative stress, so that that collagen matrix is protected. And another thing to say about magnesium actually is when we're talking about hyaluronic acid, I'm not sure how many people realise that we make our own hyaluronic acid. I think lots of people think we get hyaluronic acid from diet, but actually the skin cells themselves make hyaluronic acid. And there's a family of enzymes called the Has enzymes, and they're actually regulated by magnesium as well. So magnesium is really important, not just as an electrolyte to bring moisture and water into the skin, but also to help these enzymes build new hyaluronic acid and get that locked into the collagen matrix. So, all of this water transport and absorption helps to kind of plump up those skin cells and build, help that within that collagen matrix.
Yes, I think magnesium's really, really been underrated. I think it's lovely to hear it being shouted about, because interestingly enough, when we put that probiotic mask in trial, even as a scientist, I couldn't quite work out this, but we weren't really testing for this. But when we were putting it in consumer trials, we kept getting these comments back on the testing saying, "Oh, I felt my skin 8 hours later and it felt really, really soft. I could feel the softness." And of course, I then sort of put two and two together eventually in that reverse science sort of way, and realised that the magnesium was playing such a role. It's that you really can feel the difference in the texture and the tone of the skin when you've really finely tuned and balanced that combination of that vitamin C and that magnesium in the skin. You can really, really see it quite quickly, and because it doesn't take very long to work very rapidly. And the other really, really important thing for me about magnesium is, of course, it's great if you're a slightly anxious person as well, because it's very, very good for calming the nerves and calming the stress of the skin as well. So I think it's a really, as I said, I think it's quite an underrated mineral.
Completely. I think we're hearing more and more about magnesium because of its role to do with mood and mindset. And we've got lots of anxiety, lots of sleep disorders, lots of mood issues, particularly post-pandemic. So magnesium is sort of being talked about more. And I think, we've got to remember as well that underneath the skin, we've got hundreds of muscles. And magnesium is so important for muscle function. We talk about magnesium in sports nutrition all the time. We talk about calcium, contracts muscles and makes them tight. And magnesium is, relaxes the muscles, relaxes the mind. So if our faces are all kind of, scrunched up and tight and been stressed all day, then taking magnesium in the evening, it doesn't just relax your mind, but it does kind of, relaxes your jaw, relaxes, your face, that you can kind of relax and get up with a bit of a glow the next day.
Yeah, it's also in this blue light environment that we have so often. We're all sort of on devices, for example, and that that UV, that constant if you like, that constant stress on the skin can take its toll. And the other thing I was going to point out as well, which is why we've created the probiotic mask the way that we have, is that actually if your sleep function is impaired, actually it's really tough on your skin. Your skin is really one of the first places that it really does suffer. Poor sleep, both around the obviously around the eyes with the dark circles, but there's also a tonal lackluster that appears in the skin, and also the skin is much more prone to dehydration because your circadian rhythm has been thrown out. So I think magnesium's role is quite broad in that process and keeping everything very well balanced, ensuring that you get enough sleep so that your hydration functions work appropriately, and also making sure that you can use the vitamins that you have added either internally or topically appropriately. So it plays a really important role in that.
That's right. I think we're hearing a lot more about the circadian rhythm now, aren't we? There's these messages about, finding what it is that works for you. What are your healthy habits for your sleep? How are you getting your sleep routine? And it's not just about the end of the day, is it? It's actually what we're being recommended now is that, when we wake up, we get out into the light so that the light hits the retina and resets our hormones. There's some research as well showing that it's good to wait for 2 hours before you drink caffeine after you've woken up, because that impacts your circadian rhythm as well. So
I think I fail that one.
Yeah, I think lots of people fail that one. I fail it, and I've got this research in the back of my head, and I was making my cup of Earl Grey tea this morning going, shouldn't be doing this till 11 o'clock, and I was like, well, I've got a life I due to do. I need a bit of energy.
I think my first thing in the morning is always, where's that lovely cup of coffee? Where is it?
Exactly.
I think on that note, though, it is important to touch upon, Susie, as well, the relationship with sort of food intake and other intake that you might have, and how it affects your ability to absorb certain minerals, etc. It's really important to have some awareness of that, because certain ingredients can diminish how well something's absorbed, and that's why really the liposomal absorption is another reason why, because it's got that rapid absorption, you can make sure that you're getting the right amount quite quickly to the right place.
Well, that's right. For anyone with compromised digestion, anyone who's got a digestive condition, digestive symptoms, or gets bloating, or has, a fast transit time, that the amount of time that you get to absorb and release the minerals from your food and then absorb them is much more limited. So when you take a liposomal supplement, it's really different to taking other forms of supplements, because those phospholipids counterbalance all those other digestive problems, because they can be absorbed across a much larger area of the gut, so you increase your absorption factor. Also, because the phospholipids bring them across, because it's like meets like, they can get into the body and into the bloodstream a lot quicker. So I think that's really important to mention, particularly with minerals, because they are much more difficult to absorb.
Yes, and there's another point I was going to make as well. Sorry, just on the skin as well, because the other really important thing which we have focused on for probably about the last 8 to 10 years here at Nourish is, of course, the effect of pollution on the skin. And again, the particulate matter, that the air quality in the urban type cities that we work in have not only an effect on our ability to absorb minerals, etc., not only internally but also externally. And so again, just that requirement to supplement with appropriate antioxidants, appropriate minerals, is just I think it's probably fair to say there's more stress on the human skin than there's been before, in terms of the environments that we exist in.
Yeah, so do you think that in some of your skincare products where you've got antioxidants, do you think a percentage of those antioxidants are just being used to combat the free radicals that are impacting the skin just from pollution and the environment?
Oh, absolutely. I was reading an article recently. So, for example, dark spots on the skin. there's some emerging theories that that's potentially caused by, historically it was thought that they were UV was the cause. There's some data emerging to suggest that maybe particulate matter has a role to play in that, in producing sort of polycyclic aromatic compounds that go on to sort of create that damage to the skin. So I think there's a lot of you know, there's a lot of things that we don't know, of course, and that's the beauty of being scientists. It's you know, it's that constant exploration about understanding how our skin and our bodies respond to various things. So yes, I think pollution is really a big problem in this day and age in terms of the skin health.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, so I think if you're taking vitamin C, because vitamin C is a water soluble nutrient, which I think a lot of people also may not know. And that basically means that it's really hard for the body to store any decent levels of vitamin C. So considering vitamin C plays such a major role in the immune system and as part of our protection against free radicals and against oxidative stress and against pollutants, it's really important to understand that there's this sort of seesaw effect, isn't there, where, you know, between your sort of antioxidant status and the amount of damage that's going on, and then what's left over to sort of support the other function of vitamin C, like the immune system. So if you're not taking vitamin C daily, then you can really quickly end up with a low vitamin C status, because vitamin C is easily depleted by alcohol, smoking, stress, intensive exercise. It's constantly used by the immune system for the immune cells that are going around scanning the body, you know, for anything that's not supposed to be there and any infections. So, you know, all of these factors drain on those vitamin C reserves that get depleted so quickly. So yeah, it's not just about supplementation, but, you know, diet obviously is important as well. But the problem with diet is that the amount of vitamin C in our food is nowhere near what it used to be 50 years ago, because lots of our fruits are being picked underripe and then ripened in storage. And so we have to be much more diligent about where our antioxidants and where our vitamin C is coming from. I think that's why a sachet of vitamin C every day, you know, from Altrient can really help. You know, I'm going to hold it up again. It can really help.
I'm going to hold one up to you.
Yeah, you hold yours up.
Absolutely, because I'm
really easy to
I'm a
take.
huge supporter of the use of supplementation with vitamin C. I think it's an absolute, you know, I think if you had a list of your desert island vitamins, vitamin C would probably top the list, right?
Top of the list. Yeah, we wouldn't need the magnesium because we'd be so relaxed because we're on a desert island.
And I mean, we just need to look at the history of discovery of vitamin C as well. You know, there was the issue with scurvy back in the 18th, 19th century, and you know, they discovered that vitamin C is a really important molecule. And if you look throughout the history of, you know, the recent history of modern medicine, you know, that discovery of vitamin C really opened the doors to a really different approach to and understanding about the vitality of you know, how important nutrition is, both to our physical appearance, but also our internal health.
Yes. And I think what I'm learning now at this age is that had I paid more attention, and I was even working in nutrition 30 years ago, had I paid a little bit more, you know, sort of realised how much that what you do early on pays it forward. So, you know, collagen is so important, not just for the skin, but for joints, bones, cartilage. And it's a kind of plus 50, you know, but then you start realising, oh, okay, you know, all of those structural issues and all those structural things that collagen looks after, which vitamin C is so important for, are really worth taking care of earlier on. So, you know,
I think that you know, when you think about a strategy for healthy skin, you know, it's really a marathon. It's not a relay race. It's not a quick race. It's not a sprint. It's not something that you can, as I said, I think that from my experience, is lots of really great habits, making sure that you have that adequate hydration to the skin, making sure that you put in interventions if you're, if you happen to be on certain medication that's depleting your system, or if you happen to have had a particularly stressful time in your life, you see it straight away on the skin. For me, the skin is a meter for human health, and making sure that we have and apply the right, if you like, well-being solutions to the skin, really, really important. And I think oral supplementation is really, a very, very important strategy.
I think they both work together. It's really important to go from the inside and from the outside, and then you just get a synergy of results which kind of elevates everything to the next level.
Yeah.
So where can people, would you like to mention where people can get your lovely products from? Because I would really highly recommend the mineral mask. That was my absolute favourite. I loved we haven't really talked about the
ceramide essence.
The ceramide essence. So the ceramide essence, I put that on. I did my cleansing in the morning, and then I put the ceramide essence on, and I felt like it just literally pulled my skin together. And then I put my daily SPF factor moisturiser on top of that, and I thought that combination worked really well. So I was really pleased with that.
Yeah, you've got to sort of, with this trio, with our ceramide essence, with the Argan Rescue and the probiotic mask, you've really got the holy trinity of sort of looking after the skin's vital system. So with the ceramide essence, we're looking after the natural moisturising factor. We're making sure that the skin gets the hyaluronic acid, the antioxidant supplementation that it needs. With the Argan Rescue, what we're doing is making sure that the lipid layer is well intact, that there's no leaky bucket potential. And then, of course, with the probiotic mineral mask, is what we're doing is we are accelerating and turbo boosting your, if you like, your natural repair mechanisms by providing those overnight probiotic minerals to really supplement the skin's natural metabolic process of repair. So those three, I think if I was sort of to pick a selection, and across those three, you get that vitamin C supplementation, and you also get those mineral supplementations, which are so important.
These two together. These are the quench products.
And
easy to
really,
take.
if you're in
really easy to take. You just snip these into a little shot glass of water and you down them. They, out of all of the Altrient rays, I find these two the most pleasant to take. The glutathione is a little bit more challenging. I know we've talked about it, so it's good to have some tropical juice to chase that with. But these two are pretty easy. So where can people go to buy your products? Can they buy from Instagram?
Yes, you can go to www.nourishskinrange.com. We have our own website where you can, and if anyone wants any further advice post this, please feel free to email us on Instagram. Very, very happy to help address any questions. We're found in Whole Foods, we're found on QVC. There's a range of products in the range of places in the UK where you can find us.
Fantastic, that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I did find all of that really interesting, and I've learnt a lot myself. And I know that we'll be keen to continue with putting these messages out there, which is really great. And I hope we get another chance to chat again in the future about more of your skincare and how they work with the Altrient liposomal products.
Yes. Thank you very much, Susie. Thank you very much for allowing me to talk to everyone. And remember, these two are the magic.
Thank you so much. That's great. If you want to exit, or just use the cross at the top of the screen on the right, and then I can just wrap up. So if anyone wants, that was just brilliant. I've always taken my Altrient C sachet before I go out into the sun, and now I'm going to take it afterwards. That's something that I've learned today. I'm going to look at my circadian rhythm a little bit better as well. So for anyone out there who is interested in the quench personality, which means the Altrient C and the Altrient magnesium, you can get those on the Altrient, on the Abundance and Health website. And you can find more information about the Skin Personality System on the altrient.com website. If you've got any questions about today's live IG and you have anything that you would like to ask us, please get in touch by just messaging us on Instagram, and we'll be really happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.